In Marvel Rivals, it can be easy to feel hard stuck when you're solo queuing, but here's 4 tips to rise above the randoms. Tip 1. Communicate. If you're comfortable talking in voice chat, make callouts. You don't have to be an in-game leader, but you just have to let your teammates know what is actually happening. They don't often talk. We've all been in those games where, it's just silent, but they often do listen. And this can be helpful to find like-minded teammates like yourself to team up with. Maybe you're only interested in playing by yourself, but having a great duo partner can make a lot of things easier when it comes to synergies. But we'll talk about that when it comes to one of the later tips. Tip number 2: be flexible. Everyone finds a role or a character they love to play, but sometimes if things aren't working, you have to be flexible. And I don't mean like Mr. Fantastic. I mean in role selection, character choice, and in your in-game playstyle. If you only play tank, or you only play healer, or you only play DPS especially, you might find your team's already picked these roles, and they're going to be unwilling to switch. What can you do in this situation? You could pick that that third DPS or fourth DPS or whatever, but that's probably not going to win you the game. You have to be able to fill in the gaps and make a decision on what your team actually needs and is missing. And this is where it's important to find multiple characters and roles that you can be comfortable playing with. That way you're not a liability if you get stuck playing into that role. Tip number 3: focus on yourself. This can be a tough one, especially low ranks. There's a lot of toxicity, and it can be hard when we all have that one teammate that's stinking up the place. And the reality is some of these games are never going to be winnable. But what you can do is you can focus on your own gameplay and what you can do better. Make sure you're working to stay alive, using your ultimates effectively, and getting as much value out of your own play as you possibly can. And you need to focus on value here, not stats. Everyone looks at the stat board and says they're carrying, but that's not what's important here. It doesn't matter if you're the MVP and you went 40-1 if your team lost. You still lost, you're still losing SR. Ultimately, you need to work to win the games. You need to win games is what's important. The best player on your team, you might not win every game, but you're definitely going to climb the ranks. So don't get stuck in that argument with that person. You don't want to get stuck in a pissing contest. Lastly, synergies. So many players, even these higher ranks, don't take synergies into account when picking their team. And a lot of times synergies are free abilities, and there's a lot of extra values that you get from them. Look to complement your teammates with these synergy picks. If your teammate picks Iron Man and you know how to play good Hulk, pick the Hulk. There's a lot of synergies like this. Hela, Thor, Loki, and Loki by extension. Being able to res a Thor at 400 HP when he just respawns in the backline, diving the enemy healers. That's a really strong. Thor and Cap and Storm, all three of those have great synergies, and it makes Cap a much more useful character and gives him a lot of range and gives Storm extra damage and helps her generate her ult faster. Luna and Namor. This is a really strong one, especially to deal with flankers. Namor is not played enough, especially with this Luna synergy. He can just put this slow turret in the back line, and a lot of these flankers can't deal with it, and they just get shut down. Punisher and Rocket and Bucky. The infinite ammo is very, very strong, and it gets a lot of extra value. And Adam Warlock, Star-Lord, and then Mantis by a little trio extension. That's an extra life that each of those characters gets with that synergy, and that can be really, really strong because it covers up mistakes. These extra lives cover up these mistakes. And you should look for these synergies where you can play them with randoms, especially if you see one of your teammates is carrying the game. If you can buff him by playing one of these characters to give him a synergy, do it, complement them. But ultimately, you only want to play these characters and look for these synergies if you can play the character. Don't throw your game trying to play something that you can't play just to force a synergy. That's not value, and that's not going to help you win the game either. But I hope these tips can help you win more games and climb these ranks. And thanks for watching.